What is true change? Changing is the mastering of perception. It's mastering the way we see things, not physically seeing with our eyes, but the way we perceive it in our minds, the way we understand something, the way we understand or see an experience we went through, or the way we understand or receive or interpret what we hear, as well as what we see physically with our eyes. There are people who don't watch the news, for example, because they say the news has too much negativity there. But this negativity has a great deal to do with reality and whether at the reality of the world that we live in. So to deny reality is to almost say that I choose to live in a world of falsehood. I choose to live in a world that has been conjured up by my own desired belief about life. I am going to construct my own reality, which removes what I perceive to be negative realities, the things that I consider to be bad that is happening every day in the world, the things that the news report. See, this change that I'm speaking of, again, has 100% to do with perception. It is the way we see things. It is the way we interpret and understand things. A thing affects us the way it does because of how we look at it. For example, in most cases, a person can say that I didn't mean to offend you when I said what I said. And this has to do a lot with the person's intent, and intent lies within the heart, something that a human being has the inability to be able to see and truly discern, because all we have the ability to do is basically interpret a person's results, interpret the results of a person's actions. And a lot of times from that result of the action, we'll then say, that's what you intended to do. We'll place that with this and say, yeah, that's what your intentions were. Sometimes we close, sometimes we may be correct. But definitely we cannot say 100% of the time that our way of discerning intention is 100% accurate, because the true intention lies in the heart. And we can never, ever really truly say a person's intent. Perception, but it is the way we perceive something. It is the way we have ourselves perceive what we have witnessed or experienced. This is why it affects us the way it do. This is why we give it the conclusion that we give it and say it is either negative or it is either good. I believe that we have the ability to master happiness or be happy, or if not happy, to at least be content 100% of the time, no matter what we are going through, when we master our perception. See, the way we see things is actually a skill, and we understand that all skills can be learned. It is something that must be practiced over and over again until that practice leads to mastery. The way we see things can be mastered because, as it has been used as an example, when a person pours a glass of water and makes that glass half, and pours the water or whatever's in it half full or half empty. The way we perceive that initially, they say, or it is said, tells us again how we perceive life in most cases. If we see it as half full, that is the positive way it is said to be looking at it. If we see it as half empty, then that is a negative way to perceive. That is a negative way of it is said to be looking at it. So now, if we begin to really consciously make efforts to really work on our perception, work on the way we receive things, work on the way that we conclude about things, then that within itself can change the way that which we go through in life, that which we are looking at, that which we hear affects us. To separate ourselves from an experience, to separate ourselves from people, to separate ourselves from reality, that isn't the best way to change perception or to even change or to make our lives better. The reason being is because true evolution comes through the strengthening of ourselves, the bettering of ourselves, where we are weak and where we are imperfect. But there is no strengthening where there is no challenge, where there is no opposition. So whenever we run from things that oppose the way we view something, oppose the way we feel about something, then that within itself, that action, that retrieval, only takes away from our ability to be stronger in this particular area, which more than anything has to do 100% entirely upon the way we perceive or the way we look at or understand something. But if we work more towards, when we generally just go through day in life, to really try to find a neutral way of looking at things, understanding that nothing in life, for the most part, is how we would ourselves individually like it to be. But whenever we take a position and begin to put things in a bad or a negative category, that in most cases is a selfish position. Because we want things to be how we desire it to be. Not so much how it is. Not so much how the person is. Not so much how the person deals with life. But how we want the person to deal with life. How we want a person to deal with things. True mastery or change comes with the mastery of the way we look at things. It comes with the way that we perceive things. We must work on the way we perceive things, because this again has a lot to do, or 100% to do with the way things affect us emotionally. And we understanding that when we can control the way something affects us, then that in turn changes the way we respond to life. And when we change the way we respond to life, then that in turn begins to change our life, can change the conditions that we then live in. We cannot so much maybe control the circumstances that we come into, but we can shape it by the way we respond to circumstance. And this responding to circumstances, or again to life, has everything to do with the way the circumstance affects us emotionally. Once we master our perception, we will then begin to have or generate in ourselves a kind of energy that will make everything that isn't conducive to our happiness, to our strength, dissipate itself from us and from our particular individual world. we won't then have to separate ourselves through our own retrieval, because these things would not even find the energy to gravitate itself to our lives. It would not attract itself to our individual life and space. But the reason why the things or people come into our world has greatly to do with the way we respond to life. It has greatly to do with the way we feel about things, the way we perceive things, feel about things, and respond to life, because it is this response, it is this feeling that creates a kind of difficult to understand energy. And that energy within itself almost is a command or a language that is sent out into the universe that causes things to enter or come into our world. If we want to change the way our world is individually, if we want to be happy, true happiness is found in the peace of mind. But you can't have a peace of mind by trying to change everything around you. A peace of mind is solely determined on you changing the way everything around you affects you. And the only way you can change the way things around you, the experience you go through, the things you witness or hear, affects you, is by changing the way you perceive it, the way you interpret it in your own mind. Things is only bad or negative because we as individuals have put it into that category. We have defined it or described it as such. And things are only bad or negative when it is something that doesn't coincide with what we personally desire. This is again a selfish position to take in life. Because when it rains on our party or our parade, the first thing we do is frown or get disgruntled about that experience when this rain is something that we couldn't stop. And instead of looking at it as, although I may not have particularly desired it to rain today, this rain is a good thing still, because I'm sure there are many, whether it be human beings or just the walking creatures of the earth or the grass, that needed this rain. And understanding that we all function in a oneness or in a whole. Can nothing happen on the other side of the globe that still doesn't work its way into my world or affect us on this side of the world? When we truly begin to understand the oneness that we actually and truly function in, that we'll understand that there's no way that I can live in a world where things that I do don't affect no one else, or things that happen in the world won't affect me and my world in some kind of way. So I cannot be so selfish to always just want my world or want things in the world to find harmony with my desires. Change our perception. Work on changing our perception. That doesn't come from retrieval. That comes from challenging the things that conflict with our view. That comes to finding peace with the things that conflict with our desires. Change that, and you will change your place in life, your contentment, or your position of happiness. You'll change the way things affect you. You'll change your own world. These are my words. You can either accept it or reject it. Peace.